My 18-year-old cousin was kissing his friend, and then this happened. That night is burned into my memory forever. I had just gone downstairs for a glass of water, thinking the house was asleep, when I saw something that stopped me in my tracks. My cousin, barely 18, was in the living room with his best friend, and they weren't just talking. They were kissing, lost in a moment that neither of them thought anyone else would ever witness. My first instinct was to turn away, to pretend I hadn't seen, but my heart wouldn't let me. I froze there, torn between disbelief and something I couldn't yet name. From that moment on, everything changed. It wasn't just about what I had seen. It was about what had awoke in me, a mixture of curiosity, confusion, and desire that I had never dared confront before. What happened next led me down a path I never imagined I'd take, one filled with moments of vulnerability, tension, and feelings that kept me awake night after night. This story is about the silence of that first secret, the electricity of glances exchanged when no one else is watching, and the courage it takes to face emotions we've been taught to hide. It's about discovery, desire, and the way a single moment can turn a life upside down. Stay with me until the end of this story, because what started with a stolen kiss turned into something much deeper and far more complicated. And I promise you, the last scene will leave you asking yourself what you would have done in my place. If you love stories that mix tension, emotion, and self-discovery, make sure to watch until the very end. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell, so you never miss the next story that will challenge your heart as much as this one. I never thought a single night could shake the foundation of how I saw myself, but it happened. It began so simply. I woke up thirsty. The house was silent, the kind of silence that only comes deep into the night when everyone has gone to bed. My aunt and uncle were upstairs. My cousin George was supposed to be asleep too, and I tiptoed down the wooden stairs trying not to wake anyone. The living room light was faint, just a warm glow spilling from a lamp. At first, I thought maybe Jordan had fallen asleep on the couch with the TV on, but when I stepped closer, I froze. My breath caught in my throat. There he was, my cousin, sitting on the couch with his best friend, Kyle, and they weren't just talking. Jordan's hands were cupped around Kyle's face, and they were kissing. Not a quick kiss. It was slow, deliberate, like two people who had been waiting too long and couldn't hold back any longer. For a second, I didn't even believe what I was seeing. My chest tightened. I knew Jordan as a kid I grew up with. We played video games together, ran in the backyard, got into stupid arguments over nothing. He was family, almost like a little brother. And yet, the way he kissed Kyle was intimate, electric, something I'd only ever seen in movies or imagined in secret corners of my own mind. My first instinct was to turn around and creep back upstairs. But something inside me, something I couldn't name, kept me rooted there. It wasn't just shock. It was fascination. My stomach churned with nerves, but my heart was hammering with something else, recognition. Because the truth was, I'd always carried questions about myself that I never dared to ask out loud. I dated girls because that's what everyone expected, but none of those relationships ever made me feel the way I secretly hoped love would feel. There had always been a part of me that lingered on the way a guy's shoulders looked when he pulled off his shirt after basketball, or the way my chest tightened if someone leaned too close to me in the locker room. But I buried those thoughts, shoved them down deep. And then, in that living room, I couldn't shove them down anymore. I must have made a sound, because suddenly Jordan pulled back, his eyes darting toward the hallway. Kyle turned too, his face flushed, lips still parted. Our eyes met, and in that instant, it was like time stopped. "Wait," Jordan whispered, scrambling to his feet. I panicked. My body chose flight. Before I could think, I turned and bolted up the stairs, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. I slammed my bedroom door shut and leaned against it, chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. What had I just seen? More importantly, why did it affect me so much? I lay in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts racing. I should have felt embarrassed for them, maybe even disgusted the way some people would react. But I didn't. I felt jealous. Jealous of their courage. Jealous of the raw honesty in that kiss. They had something real, and I had spent my life pretending. When morning came, I dreaded facing Jordan. Part of me expected him to barge into my room, demanding I swear secrecy. Another part of me hoped he would, because maybe then we could talk about it. But breakfast was painfully normal. He sat across from me, eyes cast down at his cereal, spoon clinking against the bowl. Kyle was gone. "Sleep okay?" my aunt asked me, pouring coffee. "Yeah." I lied, my throat tight. Jordan glanced up just once, his eyes meeting mine for less than a second. The message was clear. Don't say anything. The silence between us grew heavier with each passing day. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time Jordan looked at me, I wondered what he thought I saw. Did he feel exposed? Ashamed? Or was he waiting for me to ask the question burning in my chest? Was that kiss what I think it was? A week later, the chance came. My aunt and uncle went out for dinner, leaving us alone in the house. Jordan sat in the living room, scrolling on his phone, while I hovered in the doorway like a coward. Finally, I forced myself to sit down beside him. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. My mouth was dry. Still, the words slipped out. "I saw you that night." Jordan's head jerked up, his eyes wide. For a second, he looked like a cornered animal. "What are you talking about?" I swallowed. "You and Kyle. I came downstairs. I saw you kissing." The silence stretched until I thought I'd suffocate. His jaw tightened, and he set his phone aside. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said quietly. His voice wasn't angry. It was scared. "I know," I replied. "I didn't mean to." "Are you going to tell anyone?" His eyes searched mine, desperate. "No," I said quickly. "Of course not. I would never." "Then why bring it up?" His tone cracked. I hesitated. The truth clawed its way out of me before I could stop it, because it mattered to me more than you realize. Jordan's brows furrowed. "What does that mean?" I exhaled shakily. "It means I don't think I'm as different from you as I pretended to be." His face softened, confusion mixing with something like relief. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Are you saying you like guys too?" The question hung between us, heavier than the air itself. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to nod. For the first time in my life, I admitted it out loud. Jordan sat back, running a hand through his hair. He looked overwhelmed, but not in a bad way. "Damn," he muttered. "I thought I was alone in this." "You're not," I whispered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The weight of the confession pressed down on us. But beneath it was something else. A spark, an unspoken understanding that tied us together in a way it never had before. And then, as if fate wanted to test us, the front door slammed open. My aunt and uncle were back early. Jordan and I shot apart, panic flashing his eyes. The conversation wasn't over. It was just beginning. But what would happen next? I had no idea. The night my aunt and uncle came back early left Jordan and me in a silence heavier than anything I had ever experienced. We both sat stiff on the couch, pretending to scroll on our phones as if nothing had happened, but my mind was spinning. My confession. The first time I had admitted to anyone, even myself, that I liked guys, was still echoing between us, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Dinner was normal, too normal. My aunt asked about school, my uncle rambled about work, and Jordan and I responded with one-word answers. It felt like we were actors in play, reading lines while hiding the truth backstage. Every time my cousin's eyes flicked toward mine, my chest tightened. He looked both terrified and relieved, as if I had opened a door he'd been pushing against for years, but didn't know if he was ready to walk through. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying the moment. The fear in his voice when he asked if I was going to tell anyone. The way his shoulders dropped when I admitted I wasn't so different from him. The relief. The possibility. For years, I had buried that part of myself so deep I thought I'd never dig it out. Now it was alive, buzzing under my skin, demanding to be faced. The next few days were awkward. Jordan avoided me at breakfast, skipped hanging out after dinner, and when I tried to start small conversations, he brushed them off with a nervous laugh or a quick excuse. I told myself to leave him alone, that he needed time, But I also knew we couldn't just pretend nothing had happened. The turning point came the following Friday. We were supposed to meet some friends at the park to play basketball. I wasn't in the mood, but I went anyway, more out of habit than desire. When I arrived, Jordan and Kyle were already there, shooting hoops. My stomach flipped. Seeing Kyle again after that night made the memory hit harder. The kiss, the way Jordan held him. I tried to act normal, but it was impossible. We played a few rounds, sweating under the late summer sun. Everything seemed fine on the surface, just three guys messing around. But under it, the tension was suffocating. At one point, Kyle bumped into me while going for ball, and when our eyes met, I saw it. A flicker of recognition. He knew I had seen them. During a water break, Kyle leaned against the fence, glancing at Jordan. "I should head home," he said casually, though his voice carried an edge. Jordan looked panicked for a moment, but quickly nodded. "Yeah, okay. See you later." Kyle gave me a look before leaving, one that made my chest tighten. It wasn't anger. It was more like caution, as if he was silently telling me, don't ruin this for him. When Kyle was gone, Jordan and I sat on the bench, both drenched in sweat, both pretending to focus on tying our shoelaces. The silence stretched until I couldn't take it anymore. "Are you mad at me?" I asked softly. Jordan sighed, dropping his head into his hands. "I'm not mad. I don't know what to do now. About Kyle? About everything," he muttered. His voice cracked raw. "You weren't supposed to see us. You weren't supposed to say what you said." I swallowed hard. "You mean about me liking guys too?" "Yeah." He looked up at me, eyes shining with something between fear and hope. It changes things. I've been hiding this part of me for so long, and suddenly, and now, I don't even know who I am anymore, let alone what you think of me." I leaned back against the bench, staring at the fading sun over the treetops. "You think I've got it figured out?" "I don't." That night just ripped something open in me that I can't ignore anymore. He was quiet for a moment, then asked, almost in a whisper, "Do you regret telling me?" I turned to face him. "No. Do you regret me knowing?" Jordan shook his head slowly. "No, but it scares me." We sat in silence, listening to cicadas buzzing in the trees. I wanted to reach out, to tell him it was going to be okay, but my hand stayed frozen in my lap. That night, things shifted again. We were both in the kitchen after everyone had gone to bed, each making a late-night sandwich. He was spreading peanut butter on bread when he said, without looking at me, "Kyle thinks you hate us now." "What?" My chest tightened. "He told me after you left the park. He thinks you're judging us, that you'll never understand." The word stung. "Is that what you think too?" Jordan finally looked at me, his jaw tense. "I don't know what to think. I don't even know if I understand myself." I set down the knife I was holding, my pulse racing. "Then maybe we can figure out together." The air between us thickened. His eyes lingered on mine longer than they should have. For the first time, I felt something unspoken passing between us, a possibility I wasn't ready to name but couldn't deny. And just as the silence grew too heavy, the back door creaked open. My uncle stepped in, carrying a bag of groceries he must have picked up late. Jordan and I jumped apart, guilt painted across our faces even though nothing had happened. My uncle barely noticed, muttering about forgetting milk as he passed us. But the interruption left me shaken. Later, lying in bed, I realized something terrifying. The risk wasn't just about being discovered. It was about what was already happening between Jordan and me. Something was changing, something I couldn't control. The next afternoon, it all came crashing forward. Jordan asked me to walk with him down by the lake, a quiet place we used to hang out as kids. We sat on the dock, feet dangling above the water, watching the ripples. He was quiet for a long time before finally speaking. "I think Kyle knows I'm not being honest with him," he admitted. I frowned. "Honest how?" Jordan's shoulders slumped. "He knows my head isn't just with him. He asked me if I had feelings for someone else." I didn't answer. "But the truth is," he trailed off, staring at the water. My pulse hammered in my ears. "The truth is what?" Jordan turned toward me slowly, his face pale but determined. His voice dropped, steady and almost trembling. The truth is, I can't stop thinking about you. The world tilted. My breath caught, my mind screaming and racing all at once. I had imagined this moment, but hearing it out loud was different. It was real. Before I could respond, though, voices echoed from the trail behind us. A group of kids from school was approaching the lake, laughing and shouting. Jordan's eyes widened in panic. We scrambled to our feet, the confession hanging between us, unfinished, raw, and dangerous. The sound of those kids arriving at the lake shattered the fragile moment Jordan and I had just shared. His words still echoed in my mind. I can't stop thinking about you. But before I could even process them, we were forced to put on masks again. We waved awkwardly at the group passing by, pretending nothing was unusual. But the truth lingered like a storm cloud over us. We walked home in silence, side by side, every step heavier than the last. My chest was tight, my thoughts spinning. I had imagined what it might feel like if he ever confessed something like that. But I had never truly believed it would happen. And now that it had, I didn't know if I was terrified or relieved. Maybe both. Back at the house, Jordan slipped away into his room without another word. I paced in mine, restless, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My face looked pale, my eyes wide with confusion. I whispered his words to myself. I can't stop thinking about you. Did he mean it in the way I thought? Or was it some kind of confused spill of emotion, tangled with fear and desperation? Kyle was still in the picture, my cousin's best friend. And yet Jordan had admitted something that could break everything apart if it got out. The next day, things felt unbearably tense. At breakfast, Jordan avoided my gaze completely, even as our aunt chatted cheerfully about her plans for the day. I wanted to scream, to pull him aside and force him to explain what he meant. But the opportunity never came. He vanished after chores, saying he was going to Kyle's. Hours later, I found myself wandering into the backyard, restless. That's when I heard voices near the side of the house. I crept closer, curiosity pulling me, and what I saw made my stomach clench. Jordan and Kyle stood close together by the fence, arguing. Kyle's voice was sharp. You've been distant, man. You can't even look me in the eye anymore. What's going on? Jordan rubbed the back of his neck, looking torn apart. It's complicated. Complicated? Kyle's tone cracked, angry and hurt. We kissed. We've been figuring this out together. And now you're acting like you don't even want to be near me. Just tell me the truth. My chest ached. I shouldn't have been there, listening, but I couldn't move. Jordan's voice dropped, barely audible. I think I might have feelings for someone else. Kyle's face fell. Ooh. Silence. Kyle's jaw tightened. It's him, isn't it? Your cousin. The words hit me like a punch. My breath caught, my body frozen. Jordan didn't deny it. He didn't confirm it either, but his silence was enough. Kyle's face twisted in pain and anger. Unbelievable. You let me believe we were, and the whole time you're thinking about him. Jordan tried to reach for him, but Kyle pulled away. Don't. Just don't. His voice broke, and then he stormed off, leaving Jordan standing there, pale and shattered. I backed away before he could see me, my heart racing. Guilt and confusion churned inside me. Kyle was right to be hurt. Whatever was happening between Jordan and me wasn't fair to him. And yet, a selfish part of me couldn't ignore the flicker of relief that Jordan hadn't denied what Kyle said. That night, Jordan came into my room. He didn't knock. He just stood there, eyes red, shoulders slumped. You heard, didn't you? His voice was quiet, resigned. I swallowed hard. Yeah. He sat on the edge of my bed, running a hand through his hair. I didn't want it to come out like that. I didn't even want him to know. I don't even know what I'm doing. I sat beside him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. Then tell me what you meant yesterday, when you said you couldn't stop thinking about me. Jordan looked at me, eyes raw and vulnerable. I meant it. I don't know why. I know it's wrong. I know it's complicated, but I can't control it. Every time you're around, it's like I can't breathe until you're gone. And when you are gone, I miss you. I hate myself for it. His honesty cut through me. I should have told him to stop, to shut it down before it went any further. But instead, I whispered, "I feel it too." The silence that followed was electric, charged with everything we weren't supposed to say. Jordan's hand brushed against mine, tentative, trembling. I didn't pull away. For a moment, the world narrowed down to the two of us, the quiet on the night outside, the pounding of our hearts. Then his fingers curled around mine, holding on like he was afraid I'd disappear. We sat there in the dark, hand in hand, not saying a word. It was the most terrifying and comforting moment of my life. But it didn't last. The next day, the storm truly hit. Kyle showed up at the house, furious. He barely looked at me as he stormed past into the living room where Jordan was sitting. "You don't get to just leave me hanging like that," Kyle snapped. "If you're choosing him, then at least have the guts to say it." My stomach twisted. My aunt and uncle were outside gardening, blissfully unaware, but their voices carried to the open window. At any moment, they could walk in. Jordan stood, his face pale. "Kyle, it's not that simple." "Yes, it is." Kyle shot back. His voice was breaking. "Either you want this with me, or you don't. But dragging me along while you stare at him behind my back? That's cruel." I wanted to disappear. This wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a mess spilling out into the open. Jordan tried to speak, but Kyle cut him off. "You don't realize what you're risking. If anyone else finds out about this about him," he jerked his head toward me, "you're both done. People won't understand. They'll destroy you." The words hung in the air, heavy and brutal. My chest clenched with fear. Kyle wasn't just angry. He was warning us. And for the first time, I realized just how dangerous this was. The front door creaked. My uncle's footsteps echoed on the porch. Jordan and Kyle froze, their faces pale with panic. The secret we had been guarding so desperately was seconds away from being exposed. The sound of my uncle's footsteps on the porch made all three of us freeze. Kyle's words, "They'll destroy you," were still echoing when the door creaked open. Jordan's face went white, his lips parted like he wanted to scream, but couldn't. I felt my heart hammering so loudly I was sure my uncle could hear it. But when he walked in, carrying a basket of vegetables from the garden, he barely looked at us. "Evening, boys," he said casually, wiping his hands on his jeans. He didn't notice the tension, didn't see the way Kyle's fists were clenched or the way Jordan's chest rose and felt like he'd just run a mile. Relief swept over me, but it was short-lived. My uncle set the basket down on the counter and went upstairs. His footsteps faded, and suddenly the three of us were alone again. Kyle broke the silence first, his voice sharp. "This can't go on. If your family finds out, if anyone finds out, you're finished. Both of you." He shot me a glance filled with anger and something like betrayal. "You don't know what it's like out there. People won't forgive this. They'll make you pay." I wanted to argue, to tell him he didn't understand what was happening between Jordan and me. But deep down I knew he was right. The fear of being found out was heavy and real. Jordan stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "Kyle, I never meant to hurt you. You're my best friend, and what we had, it mattered, but I can't lie to myself anymore." Kyle's jaw tightened. "So what? You're just going to throw it all away for him?" His words stung because they were aimed at me. I wanted to shrink into the floor, but Jordan didn't flinch. He lifted his chin. "I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I can't keep pretending. Not with you, not with myself." For a moment, Kyle looked like he might explode. His hands shook, his face flushed with a mix of fury and heartbreak. Finally, he spat out, "Then you've made your choice." He shoved past us, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. The silence he left behind was unbearable. Jordan dropped onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. I stood there frozen, guilt gnawing at me. "This is my fault," I whispered. Jordan looked up sharply, his eyes fierce. "No, don't you dare say that. This was going to happen sooner or later. I wasn't ready for it." I sat beside him, unsure if I should touch him, unsure if I even had the right. But when my shoulder brushed his, he didn't move away. We sat like that for a long time, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on us. Kyle was gone, and with him, the fragile balance Jordan had been holding on to. Now it was just us, tangled in a mess neither of us knew how to navigate. The days that followed were tense. Kyle stopped answering Jordan's calls. At school, he avoided us entirely, his silence louder than any words. Rumors started to spread. Nothing concrete, just whispers about a fight, about something going on between the three of us. Each passing day, the fear of being exposed grew heavier. One afternoon, while walking home, Jordan finally broke the silence. "We can't keep doing this," he said, his voice rough. My stomach dropped. "Doing what?" "This," he gestured between us. "Whatever this is, it's too dangerous. If people find out, it won't just be about me or Kyle. You'll be dragged into it too. And I can't let that happen." I stopped in my tracks. "So you're just going to pretend nothing happened? Pretend you didn't say you think about me? Pretend I didn't admit I feel the same?" His eyes softened, pain flickering in them. "I'm not pretending. I meant every word. But meaning it doesn't make it safe." I stepped closer, my voice shaking. "When have we ever been safe, Jordan? We've been lying to ourselves for years. Hiding. I'm tired of hiding." His breath caught, and for a moment I thought he'd give in, but then his shoulders sagged. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." That night, the conflict came to a head. We were eating dinner when my aunt suddenly said, "Jordan, why haven't we seen Kyle around lately? You two are usually inseparable." The question hit like a dagger. Jordan froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. My pulse skyrocketed. "Oh, we had a fight," Jordan muttered, avoiding eye contact. My uncle frowned. "Over what?" Jordan shrugged, forcing a laugh. "Stupid stuff. It's no big deal." But it was a big deal, and the way his voice cracked made it obvious. My aunt glanced between us, suspicion flickering in her eyes. After dinner, Jordan stormed upstairs. I followed, finding him pacing in his room. "This is falling apart," he said, running a hand through his hair. "Kyle hates me. My parents are suspicious. And you," he stopped, his eyes locking on mine, "you're the only thing keeping me from breaking completely." I stepped closer, my chest tight. "Then don't push me away." For a moment, it felt like he would close the distance between us, that he would finally let go of the fear holding him back. His hand twitched, reaching toward me, but then he pulled back, his face twisted with conflict. "I can't," he whispered. I wanted to scream, to shake him and tell him it didn't matter what anyone thought, that what we had, whatever it was worth the risk, but the word stuck in my throat. The next day, the external conflict we feared became real. At school, whispers followed us everywhere. A classmate snickered as we passed, muttering something under his breath that made Jordan stiffen. By lunch, it was clear Kyle had told someone, maybe not everything, but enough. That afternoon, Jordan slammed his locker shut, his face pale. "They know," he said through clenched teeth. "They know something." My chest tightened. "What did Kyle say?" "I don't know," Jordan muttered. "But it's out there, and if my parents find out before I'm ready," his voice broke. "I don't know what I'll do." I wanted to comfort him, but fear clawed at my own chest. For the first time, this wasn't just about us. It was about survival. That night, lying in bed, I realized the truth. We were standing on the edge of something dangerous. If the wrong person found out, if rumors reached the wrong ears, our lives could change forever. And yet, even as fear consumed me, I couldn't stop remembering the way his hand had brushed mine, the way he said I was the only thing holding him together. I knew then that no matter what happened, I couldn't walk away. But the next morning, everything changed. When I walked downstairs, my aunt was sitting at the table, her face pale, holding Jordan's phone in her hand. She looked up at me, her eyes sharp, filled with questions I wasn't ready to answer.